Like the title says, this is Derrick Olson. This is ITL522, week 2, assignment 2. I'll be addressing a learning plan. The key factors, there's six key elements that go into a learning plan. That is teaching, learner, target, and aim, which is assessment, management, and instruction. As far as underneath those titles, I really don't. I'm going to go into this. I've given it a lot of thought. I've watched the Padlet several times, and I'm a little upset with what is being offered by National University to educate me. I'm finding more online than I am in my classroom. Long story short, let's keep it short. I plan on being a transparent teacher. The Padlet would have me believe that teaching is an act, that I go into a classroom and I act a certain way, and according to my actions, I establish a rapport. Okay, true. And that's what I do. I do establish a rapport with my classrooms. It's important. Every moment you're on the campus and off the campus, when I'm parking my car, I'm keenly aware I may be being watched by students. These students will take more from the time they think that they're watching me unscripted than they will from the time in class, because they know that that's a script, because all the other teachers they've had have made it a script. So I'm working as the anti-teacher in some cases. I'm working in such a way that I'm transparent. You're in my office right now, and it's also another room of the house. We actually used it as a spare bedroom also, but it suffices to serve as both. Like I said, I know all 6 facets of what it takes to put together a learning plan. Let's say, for the case of argument, in the case of this presentation, I'm putting together a learning plan for a class of, let's say it's 8th graders. And I am going to do it in the manner of, it's going to be history under that category, but truer to the matter, we're actually going to be doing history and electronic and digital citizenship. How do you like that? We're going to combine the two. That ought to be kind of fun. I'll get a little further into that. I made some notes about how the two are related, and that our history is pointed to where we're going. And where we're going in the future is electronics. We are going to communicate the way I'm communicating with you more often and more frequently, and more out of necessity. It's going to be because we're all going to be all over the place. We're going to be using our wristwatches to film ourselves in our locations in order to ask our spouses what they need from the grocery store. I mean, you already can do this with your cell phone, but everybody uses it as a toy and a minor communication device, when it's actually a major communication device. And the more we get used to communicating with it, the closer and the more unique. And see, I know that it's almost a sacrilege to combine this with digital imagery and digital citizenship and digital communication, but the more that we use it, I believe that we will find ourselves getting uniquely intimate in conversations through electronic medium. Right now, people don't like to be seen, only from the neck up. I assure you, I am not wearing pajamas. Oh, and along with that, I'll have to take a pause. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm sorry about the shadow and everything. This is the lighting in my room. It's really designed for natural light during the day. This picture is a picture of me drawn by a student. This wall contains what I call it refrigerator art. It's kind of it's a little bit disposable art too, but not for me. I keep them. When I ever get an opportunity when I'm teaching, in an art class, if we're doing something and even if it is specific, often I'll have students finish early, and I'll make a statement during class saying something like, Mr. Olson, or Mr. O is what I usually go by, depending on the grade level, has a refrigerator covered with your art. And when I say your art, I mean students' art. And what Mr. O really enjoys is waking up in the morning, going to his refrigerator for that first cup of orange juice, because I'm parched from the night before. Opening up that door, and the light comes on, and I look next to on the other door, and this is what I find. I find scenes that are drawn for me to make my day a better place. What it does for me is it gives me motivation to start another day, because I know I get to engage with the most interesting people on this planet, and that's my students. They know that. I can show them pictures like this from my home. They know that art isn't going to be just thrown in a drawer somewhere. It's going to be respected. It's going to be admired, and you know what? It's going to give somebody a better day. At least that's the way I try to start mine. Sorry about getting off track there. But I want to stress that I use the UDL quite often, almost all the time in class. It's important, I believe, to have multiple means of representation. Well, what are means? Multiple forms, multiple ways. Let's use at least 3 of our 5 senses to kind of feed that 6th sense. That one that we kind of know what's going on, but in our hearts we can relate to the information that is being programmed, uploaded to us via the teacher, the very walls of the classroom. Whatever it is should be instrumental in helping to teach the lesson. I like going into teachers' classrooms and seeing them change constantly, preferably with work that the students have done. These teachers spend a week before school starts decorating their classrooms. Well, bravo to them. That shows a little dedication. But it doesn't show any insight. Doesn't show the students that they're being cared about. It doesn't show. It's a show for the parents. Let's face it. And so the parents come in and they say, "Oh, ABC 1, 2, 3, isn't that special?" No, I don't know. I think it stops short. Okay, and then also in the UDL, we have actions, multiple means of action and expression. And what does that mean? Well, it's like Elvis has left the building. We all know Elvis is dead, but to see him in action, see him in his old life and everything, helps to create a narrative. Everything that I do when I'm teaching is to create a narrative. I would describe what I do as a teacher more as a storyteller, more of a Karate Kid sensei, if you would. We take it one at a time, a person at a time, study what skills they already possess, and then do our best to hone those and adapt those to a target, which is also part, well, it's kind of skipping one. We adapt it to the target of our learning, which is not just the subject matter. The target is our student, and how we're going to approach that target, how we're going to feed that knowledge that we possess and they maybe don't, or maybe possess a little bit of, but we're going to help them build it into a critical mass to help for critical thinking. We want them to learn reasoning with the knowledge that they do have, because that's the stuff that they can use to debate. And I'm not saying argue, I'm saying debate. Debate's a good thing. It is intellectual intercourse, if you would. And yes, I did say intercourse. It's proper use of the term. Let's not forget the last element of multiple means of engagement. Engagement. I like that word when it comes to teaching. I do constantly engage my students. I'm constantly in the process of figuring out ways that I can, well, first of all, I don't like their music. That's just the first of it. But I don't mind it, you know. And sometimes I play it in class as a reward for a class that's been particularly good. And I've learned to adapt and overcome some of the offensiveness. But that's a good thing, because I'm just sitting there and I'm describing their music to them, the positives and the negatives, and I listen to them tell me about it. And from that information is where I can interject my critical thinking, my mass, my little mass of knowledge. But most of it is it's trying to be pointless. However, I usually have a point. With modern music, it's offensive because it wants to be, not because it uses foul language. It's offensive because it can be, and because it's about boxing, categorizing, shaping, forming a message to kids and to young people in general that I'm a bad boy, and bad boys get the cars, the women, the money, and we're allowing that to warp values. And we need values, normes, mores. I'm sorry, norms I was going to say, and then I thought of mores. I don't mind teaching them. I'd rather show them that I don't need to use that type of language and I can still be hip and cool. Not that it always gets through. Sometimes I got to be the regular old authoritarian teacher, you know. Usually when I run into a a management problem, let's call it, I allow administration to handle it if it's getting away from me. First of all, I don't want to handle management in front of my other students. Second of all, if they're as disruptive as I'm describing to you, which is very, very odd case, usually happens when I substitute and they have predisposed ideas of what they're going to do and get away with before I walk into the room. But I'm usually able to discern it, see it coming from a distance. That's what it takes to be a teacher. It's all these reactionaries that I hear in the teacher's lounge about how they got that student and stuff, this and that. I'm appalled. I want to report them to Child Protection Services. They're literally spending their day teaching discipline. What a shame. They don't know how or the first thing to do to go about teaching discipline. First thing you do about teaching discipline is you don't teach discipline. I do think there's no problem with discipline at the college level. Is it because we've all matured? No, it's not because we've matured. We still have our proclivities and our ways of being unique and distractive in a classroom. But those are usually handled on a mature level. And if you handle mature levels in a K through 6 class, you can still get it across that certain behavior just will not be addressed because it doesn't belong in the classroom full of people that are interested in learning. That's the first key. That's the insight and drive I have going into the classroom. Okay, I'm at 11 minutes. Let me pause. I want to make sure that I've gone over everything, and I'll be right back with some more information. Oh, before I do that, no, I'll do it when I get back at the very end. I'll show you my new invention. It's for teachers by a teacher, and it's going to revolutionize or help revolutionize our schools, our teachers, and our ability to get feedback from students and feed them correct information instead of the, how about we call it, the absence of mind, or mind over does it matter. I've seen teachers knowingly give the wrong information because they'd rather do that than admit they're wrong and go look it up in front of the students. That's sad. That's just doesn't have a place in education. Okay, I'm back. I recapped and we're pretty much on track. So I'm going to take this time, since I'm in front of the mirror, to introduce the invention that's going to help a classroom, and I'm going to use in my classroom, and I hope other teachers will use it in their classrooms. Haven't seen it much, but let's hope it catches on. Okay, this is... Oops. How do I do this? I would have to turn the camera around. Basically, it's a stand and a hand for my camera. Oh, terrible. I'm back. So I've covered teacher, covered learner, and I think I've covered target pretty well. Now it's time for me to go into the aim. I did a little bit on the management and a little bit on instruction, but I haven't done a lot on assessment. And assessment is key because we're doing it all wrong. You know what? I I'm picking up the material from the schools. They're throwing it away. I had to renew my permit, and I was at the district office, and they had a table full of, some of it was the paddets or pamphlets, filled with the CCSS curriculum for particular, like, all they had left was the science ones. I couldn't find one on history or social science, which is my field. But I did find this book that hasn't never been opened. Oops. Notice it says Creating Great Schools. 6 critical steps or systems. Yeah, critical systems. They're pretty much 6 elements we're going over right now. It looks like we have to remind teachers these days of these basic elements, because they're spending so much time in management and the aim of their lesson plans. So much time, and let's give them some credit. Balancing 30 students and their aptitudes. Now we have aptitudes that range from proficient to, let's face it, all the way down to deficient in a classroom, and there's never enough time to get to all students and address their needs. However, I know part of this learning plan design was so that we take a look at that, what I just said about the disparity and discrepancy among students and their learning abilities, and how we're going to address that as a whole in a classroom. Well, I don't. I address it as individuals, and I have other teachers in the classroom. They're called proficient students. Once I get the proficient students up to speed, I get them motivated to be working with the lower end proficiency students. Sometimes it just takes reiterating instruction to get these students on the roll. And other ones, you have to reinvent the wheel for them. It's just the fact of life. And that's okay. It takes a lot of energy, you're right. And I am too hard on regular teachers. But there shouldn't be such a thing as a regular teacher, not if you're calling yourself a professional. A professional goes above and beyond and amazes. And that's in my book. This inspired teacher thing that they're picking on. Who would hire a teacher that's not inspired? Who would hire a teacher and be like, "Oh, come in, I'll put in my 6 hours and that's it, I'm going home. I'll do a good job when I'm there for that 6 hours. I'll follow your..." That's who they want to hire, because they don't want to hire someone like me. No, I take that back. I've had job offers since my first year of substitute, and I've done it for 3 years now. I've never had a summer off. I've never had any time off. I work 5 days as a substitute. I work 5 days a week. I never have to look at ASOP or ESOP, because all my gigs are invitation. I go around with my card, leave it at the class, leave a detailed note of what happened that day. Teachers call me up and they want to know, what am I talking about, and whatnot. And when I explain it to them in plain, simple English, tell them I pay attention. Next time you need a substitute, get somebody who's in there for the long haul, not just the day pay. Day pay comes and goes. Long haul, well, hell, I gotta wait a month for my paychecks anyways. Might as well put in the whole work. the whole kit and caboodle. Oh, I can see I'm probably running out of time now. I promised to keep this under 20 minutes. So what I wanted to touch on lastly was assessment. Assessment of the students and assessment of myself. My self-assessment usually obviously comes first because I need a chance to read and grade and get the reaction to me, my teaching style, my teaching methods, my teaching responses to their responses, to their needs. I think sometimes the most important assessment is to keep assessing myself. Assessing the students, it seems to be at least done now so that we can compare and contrast against other nations who some value more education than we do in the United States. We definitely spend more money on it, but we're there to protect them with our big military budget. So I guess they have more time to concentrate on the fact that they're going to be our next senseis of the new age. We'll be learning surgery from people from India. We're Indians. We'll be learning engineering from, you bet, the Middle East. We'll be learning, what would I say? The Japanese will be learning how to properly manufacture and be in for the long haul. Make a product that is worth standing by because people ultimately notice and they buy accordingly. Not that any manufacturer is done in the United States anymore anyways, but with my new device, it will be. Let you a look at. Oh, I can if there's a mirror. I'll get you a quick look at my invention, and I will manufacture it in the United States. I've already found a place in Taiwan to manufacture it. That's going to be later. Initially, it will be manufactured in the United States. But here's what it is. You know I can give it so you can see it. There it is. Right there on the list. Yes, those are brass knuckles, but they are attached with a suction cup. You see my fingers are wide open, my thumb is off the grid. Now I have a real handle that I can grip and go through the classroom, and I have I have the Webster's Dictionary, I have the Encyclopedia Britannica, I have the global map, I have weather, I have sports, I have news, I have everything I need to teach a class, and I don't need one book, not one. I can teach it all with current events. Current events and how they relate to historical events. Because it's all repeat. It's all pendulum. If you watch, particularly, I'll just use politics, but this applies to just about anything in the world. There is a pendulum that works. Things go from the left to the right, quite literally. We have left thinking when you're younger, and that pendulum slowly swings to right thinking when you're older. We have trying times like we did during the Depression, and the pendulum swings all the way left because, hey, we need a helping hand. We need to regroup. We need to act as one again. That's what got us through the depression and out of it. And let's face it, it was the war that really did it. But we only did that because we had already been organized. Later, we had like the Reagan years, the conservative years, the truly conservative years. And that served its own purpose. I mean, the wall did come down. That didn't come down overnight, though. It wasn't all Reagan. It was, however, a lot of his rhetoric that actually got that wall that was ready to fall anyways to come down. So back to assessment. How will I assess my students? First of all, they all start out with an A in class, as far as I'm concerned. Right now, how do we decide what students get in the classroom? By how well they regurgitate the food we feed them. And I do mean regurgitate, because if you think about it, you feed them all this knowledge, and very little of it stays down, at least any longer than what it takes to take a test. And where our hopes are that knowledge lasts long enough to take that test, and they do well in it because we need to justify our budgets and our jobs, our very livelihood, if you will. This has gone on way too long. I'm sorry. I'm getting way off subject, and I apologize. I'll wrap it up for now. If I think of anything, I'll chime back in. I'll give it a few minutes to do it, rest and relax, and maybe watch it to see if I missed anything. And I'll come back in with anything I didn't touch on thoroughly enough or missed altogether. Although I don't think I did. I think we're at about 22 minutes right now, so I've gone long enough. Thank you for spending the time to watch this video in its entirety. And if you have any questions that would help me get a better grade, I'd be happy to answer them on the cuff. I know this material inside and out, and I know the proper answers for it. I just give my own answers. Thank you for your time. All the best to you.